Hello, this is Little Green Ghouls, and welcome to Give Yourself Goosebumps, where, reader beware, you choose the scare. This week, I'm excited to visit Escape from the Carnival of Horrors. I've been trying to figure out how to cover one of these books for a while now, so we'll see how this goes. I remember seeing these books around as a kid, but was never really into them, despite their awesome holographic covers. I think I viewed them as too much work, since I wanted to know every possible path inside, which is what we'll be doing today. There are over 20 different endings, so brace yourself. The plot for this one is pretty much contained in the title of the book. You and your friends sneak into an evil carnival, and then have to escape. But let's read the blurb on the back anyways. Take a ride if you dare. Late one night, you and your friends visit the old fairgrounds. They're putting up rides and booths for the annual carnival. But this year, things look really different, really odd, really scary. The place is lit up by hundreds of fiery torches, and spooky music is coming from the main tent. Then you meet Big Al, the creepy carnival manager. Will you brave the terrifying supersonic space coaster, risk the horrors of the reptile petting zoo, slice through the oily waters of Booger Bog, or confront the evil snake lady? The choice is yours in this scary Goosebumps adventure that's packed with over 20 super spooky endings. Before we get started, I just wanted to show that this book even earned itself some merchandise with this purple alligator stapler, which is pretty freaking awesome. Do any of you superfans out there watching this video have this stapler? If so, I'm jealous. Okay, now let's start this summary. The book opens with an introduction to Brad, Patty, and yourself, because remember, this is a first-person adventure. All we need to know about these two friends are that Brad is a wimp and Patty is bossy. Patty wants to go watch them set up the carnival, and that's what we're all gonna do, despite our protests. The carnival is fenced off, but we can hear some spooky music coming from over the fence that's strangely enticing. Patty wants to climb the fence, and it's here we reach our first decision of the book. We can either turn and go home, or hop the fence. I, of course, chose to go home, because why risk death? But this choice is kind of a fake out. It basically says good thing Patty makes all the decisions around here, because otherwise we would never have any fun, and sends us over the fence anyways. Once we tumble over the fence, the carnival seems to spring to life, with all the rides and lights flickering on. We notice that it seems much larger than last year, complete with a full-size roller coaster, haunted house, boat rides, stone castle, a children's train, and a fancy electronic game of chance. We all turn the corner and find a sign that says, World's Freakiest Freak Show, displaying a grotesque three-headed man and a snake woman. This gets cut short though, because soon a mean-looking man has us by the shoulders. We learn this is Big Al, the carnival manager, and good news, he wants us to stay and try all the rides. Big Al hands us a map and vanishes into thin air. This is where we have our first big split in the story choices. We can either choose to ride the rides, or explore the midway where all the games and freak show are located. I'm all about the rides, so that's where we'll start. We all gaze in amazement at the supersonic space coaster, the doom slide, and the speedboats. On the next page, we're given the choice to ride the roller coaster with Brad and Patty, or explore the House of Horrors on our own. I'm keeping it simple for now and riding the roller coaster. The ride is decked out in space themes, and it really feels like we're on a rocket to the moon. The roller coaster pulls up and is divided into 3 sections, and all 3 kids sit in separate parts with us in the very front cart, which I'm sure will end well. Once in the seat, metal bars spring out of nowhere and hold us down, including headphones that latch onto our head, stopping us from moving at all. The ride itself is incredibly fast, going up massive hills, through loop-de-loops, and into dark tunnels. Inside one of these tunnels, the ride comes to a halt. Some time passes, and all of a sudden the restraints release, and we can see we're the only cart in here, so Patty and Brad are nowhere to be found. Here, we are faced with another decision: stay put or hop out of the cart. Safety first, so we're staying put. Unfortunately, this was the wrong decision. While sitting in the dark, we could see dozens of tracks out there, but suddenly the room fills with a strange gas that paralyzes us. We can't blink and are frozen solid. 2 men in gas masks appear and happily drag our frozen body off to be put on display as a ride mannequin, and that's our first ending. We'll finish this roller coaster path and jump back to where we had to stay put or hop out of the cart, and this time we'll choose to explore. Once on the platform, we notice several tunnels. But shit gets real weird, and all of a sudden there's an evil dwarf in front of us. We have our next choice: follow the dwarf or don't. Spoiler, either choice leads to the same set of choices involving doors. Either we follow him or flip a coin and have to choose between a red door labeled danger and a blue door labeled big danger. I'm going with big danger blue door, which results in walking down a long tunnel to a familiar favorite, the doom slide from One Day at Horrorland. This shit gets meta because within the book, we have read One Day at Horrorland and struggled to remember which slide is the safe one. This page has 3 different options with all the different slides. Going with slide 10 sends us down the actual Doom slide, where we slide for eternity, giving us our second ending. However, if we go with slide 7, We instead rocket down the slide for a bit before falling through a trapdoor safely outside the ride. We hear strange laughter coming from a pink building and head over to investigate. Inside, it's filled with people in old-fashioned clothes who announce they've been waiting for us. We learn this carnival appears in different towns every night to invite in kids just like us, and we have until midnight to find a way out, or we'll be sealed in forever, and it's already 11:40 p.m. The ground then begins to shake and everybody vanishes. We open our eyes and we're back outside and spot Brad and Patty. We're then given the choice to get on the Halloween Express or enter the Mountain King. I'm headed towards the Halloween Express, mostly to piss off Patty, who wants to go on the Mountain King. The three of us hop into an orange car and are sent into a nearby forest where a skeleton emerges from a little cottage and starts screeching trick or treat at us. These ride cars have gas pedals, so we rocket away to safety. Patty spots a service exit, but first we have to drive past a swarm of zombies and then a 10-foot monster with rotting black teeth. At this point, all this aggressive driving has torn off the steering wheel, so we're forced to jump and run. To determine if we make it, Stine has us toss a ball in the air and clap 3 times before catching it. If we do catch it, we go to one page. If we don't, we go to another. Stine doesn't actually give a fuck about our reflexes though, because if we catch the ball, we are promptly eaten by a giant ghost and then turned into a ghost, giving us our third ending. We're far enough along this path though, that I'm going to see what happens if we didn't catch the ball. This time, we manage to stumble through the ghost and are given a choice of crawling into a cannon to hide, or hiding on a children's choo-choo train. Naturally, we're crawling in the cannon. Shocker, this was a poor decision, because soon we smell something burning, and boom. Congratulations, we've escaped the carnival. The downside is now, we're just a tiny blip on NASA's radar screen, in our 4th ending. We're so far into this storyline though, that we should just check out what the choo-choo train path is, so we're going to pretend that we hit on the train instead. The train fires up and heads towards a tunnel. On the other side, we're surrounded by carnival workers, but regular ones this time, because we escaped seconds before midnight, and reached one of the few happy endings of the book. Let's jump further back this time and see what happens if we chose the red door on the roller coaster instead of the blue door. This leads to a muddy, wet tunnel that gets deeper and deeper the further in we get. Once we're waist deep in muck, we try to get back, but now there are giant earthworms behind us, so forward we go. Unfortunately, there also seems to be some sort of monster following us. Actually, not any monster, a giant green swamp monster, and guess what? It eats us in the 6th ending of this story. So much for the red door path. I'm kinda working backwards here, so let's try the last doom slide path that we haven't seen yet, and see where it takes us. At first, it seems like this slide is never gonna end, but once again a chute opens up and we plop outside, right in front of Patty and Brad this time. Patty thinks we can sneak by some security guards and crawl through a hole in the barbed wire fence that she saw earlier. We're given the choice to follow Patty or try a different path. I enjoy ignoring bossy Patty, so we choose a different way. To our own demise because ignoring Patty enrages her. She sprouts horns, turns green, and grows into a Horrorland horror and proceeds to take a big ol' bite out of our arm, giving us our 7th ending. So, let's see what happens if we follow Patty actually. She leads us through a maze of passageways before reaching the hole in the fence. We crawl inside and are greeted by lots of hissing. We notice a sign that reads, Reptile Petting Zoo, and try to escape quickly, where we're given the choice of going left or right. Going right is actually not the right decision, because this results in us learning that the sign actually said, Reptiles Petting Zoo, and we are now the human pets of a giant alligator, I hope it's purple, giving us our 8th ending. We'll see what happens if we run to the left instead this time. It actually seems worse than going to the right, because this time we fall into a pond with an actual alligator and have to scamper onto a floating log. We decide it's a petting zoo after all and start petting the alligator. This causes it to fall asleep, but Big Al appears and yanks us out of the pond and announces we're just in time for the final challenge. We're led into a big red tent and put onto a podium where a crowd gathers and starts shouting, Sudden death, sudden death. Then 2 red-headed dwarves dressed as clowns strap metal shoes onto our feet and a metal helmet to our head. A curtain rises across the room, revealing a giant dartboard. Then a magnet behind the board is activated, and we're launched across the room into this target. That's actually also a big spinning wheel. Big Al spins the wheel to reveal our fate, and we're given 3 page numbers to choose from at random. One is just a boring spin again option. The next page choice results in the crowd chanting, Final, final, final. The spinning on the wheel gets more intense and we pass out. When we wake up, we discover we are now a member of the Freak Show, because we've been glued to Patty and Brad, and are now Siamese triplets in our 9th ending. We'll jump back to our 3rd and final wheel option, which results in Big Al shouting, We win, as he releases us from the wheel. Naturally, he's actually lying, and he just wants to make us suffer some more. We reach into our pockets for a weapon. and then we're given the option to find monster blood or not. I'm obviously going to find some monster blood. We release the monster blood that immediately starts to eat the crowd, which is great, until it turns and comes after us. All three of us are able to dodge the mound of monster blood that then eats through the carnival fence, revealing a path out of the carnival, allowing all three of us to escape. We turn around and the carnival is gone, and all that's left behind is a strange mist in our 10th ending. This seems like a happy ending, but monster blood is still on the loose, which we know from experience poses a problem. Let's jump back real quick and see what would happen if we didn't have a can of monster blood ready to use. This time we discover we have nothing in our pockets to help, so we sneak out of a crack in the side of the wall and dive into a nearby tent. We're then faced with a room full of glassy-eyed people just staring forward at us. We get meta once again, and Brad notices Slappy from the Goosebumps series sitting among the dummies. We then have the brilliant idea to say the magic words to bring him to life to see if he can help. Because yes, if Slappy is known for anything, it's his kind and helpful disposition. We're then given a choice between magic words, one set being the actual magic words, and the other set being Oompa Loompa Doobity Da. We're going Oompa Loompa because fuck Slappy, but this results in some chicken bullshit, and we're suddenly transformed into a chicken in our 11th ending. I guess we'll go back and use the correct magic words, even though I don't want to. This time, Slappy springs to life, and it's a very short cameo because he's like, ha ha ha, you're my slaves now, the end, in our 12th ending. This ending has a disclaimer though, and says it's not over yet if the fortune teller told us a secret number, we can go to that page now. But alas, she didn't, so we'll just have to check out that ending later. I'm still trying to finish up this roller coaster storyline, and I'm nearly there. So let's jump back to where we had to choose between the Halloween Express or the Mountain King with Brad and Patty. This time we'll check out the Mountain King, and once inside this ride, we can see a stone castle in the distance. A red carriage pulled by real horses then offers us three a ride. The carriage steers towards some happy looking elves, who actually aren't so happy. Once we get closer, we can see they're carrying axes and chopping up carriages that cross their path. We're then given two choices. Try to race past the elves, or dive out of the carriage and risk falling off a cliff. Racing past the elves results in the horses not cooperating, and our heads getting chopped off in our 13th ending. So instead, we're going to dive out of this carriage. We all crash onto the edge of the cliffside, but it gives way, sending all three of us down the mountainside. We're bruised up but alive and crash at the foot of a log flume ride. A giant crane is in charge of scooping people up and depositing them into a log. There's an exit nearby, but we'll have to dodge the crane. This time, Stine leaves our fate up to the day of the week. Half the week survives, and the other half gets scooped up by the crane and deposited into a log for a ride. Once the log goes off the waterfall, we crash into the water, but never resurface, giving us our 14th ending, a drowning. Lucky for us, our day of the week lives, so we're able to dodge the crane and race towards the exit. Outside the ride, Big Al appears, and we have to run away down a new path. Unfortunately, it's filled with decaying ghosts and zombies. We're once again given the choice of hiding in the cannon or the choo-choo train, so we'll consider that a dead end for our purposes since there's nothing new left to explore on that story path. This time, let's hop all the way back to where we first were supposed to get on the roller coaster, and choose to explore the House of Horrors all alone instead. This involves traversing a rickety old wooden bridge that spans a canyon. Unfortunately, the bridge is struck by lightning, and we're given two choices. Grab for the side of the bridge, or flap your arms and learn to fly. Stine's a cruel bastard, because guess what? The correct answer is flap your arms, because reaching for the bridge gives us our 15th ending, as we miss and crash into the jagged rocks below. If we flap our arms uselessly, we're rewarded with a sudden gust of wind that plops us safely outside the haunted house. Now we're given another choice, continue into the house or try out Boat Trip to Nowhere. I'm still interested in this haunted house, so we'll come back for the boat ride later. Before entering the house, a skeleton appears and warns us not to go in, because we'll end up just like him. But we're not one for taking advice and march on in. Soon, we're lost in a maze of mirrored walls and given a choice, go left or right. Not the most exciting setup, but we'll go right because, spoiler, going left traps us in a perpetual loop between pages, lost among the mirrors in our 16th ending. However, going right causes us to punch the walls in frustration, springing the mirrored walls to life as they close in on us. Luckily, the floor opens up and we fall down a chute in a giant net while somebody announces, incoming player. Soon, a short old man in a lab coat, followed by two monstrous assistants, introduces himself as Dr. Frank Stone, the creator of the Carnival of Horrors. We're then given a choice, kick the doctor and run, or wait until one of the monsters leaves and try to escape later. If our experience on the roller coaster has taught us anything, sitting still isn't a good idea, and that's the case again. Holding still results in the two monsters playing volleyball with our dead body in the 17th ending. Good thing we kicked the doctor in the stomach though. and at first nothing happens, so we kick him even harder and our leg crunches right through him because, surprise, he's a robot. The doctor has now been disabled, but we still have to deal with the monsters. One of the monsters wraps a slimy tentacle around us, and we just push his head off because he's also a robot. The other monster appears and insists he's not a robot this time and it's the real deal. For some reason this matters, and we're forced to choose, is he a robot or an actual monster? I said robot, but this just resulted in our 18th ending, where the monster tore off our head instead. If we decide the monster is an actual monster, it drips nasty acid drool on us before revealing itself to actually be Uncle Al. He then ushers us to the story path we already completed, where we get magnetically stuck to a spinning wheel. So, it looks like we're finished with the haunted house storyline and should go check out the boat to nowhere from earlier. Standing by the boat ride is a short green man who happily sets us up on a motorboat and sends us on our way as we head into Booger Bog. It's fun at first, but soon we're tangled up in a forest of swampy trees that spring to life and start clawing at us. This results in a crash that puts a hole in our boat. We're once again given the choice to sit and wait for help, or try swimming to a nearby boat. Waiting is no good, so let's see how that kills us. While waiting patiently, trying not to drown, a boat paddles over and we're saved. Not really. This boat is helmed by a monster who promptly eats us in our 19th ending. However, if we go back and are more proactive and try swimming to a nearby boat, we learn this bog isn't really that deep, and we walk easily to the forest shore, where we are then attacked by a vicious bat that ends up just being mechanical. We then spot Brad and Patty getting ready to board the roller coaster and start that storyline all over again, that we've already completed. So we're just going to jump really far back to the beginning, where we have to decide whether to play games or go on rides, and this time we'll play some games. We walk down the midway and spot various colored tents and see one for Madame Zeno, fortune teller. We run inside and she offers to tell our future, but first we have to pick a red card or a blue card. We'll go red first this time, and a 3D red heart floats up out of the card and squirts blood all over us, revealing the number 132, which we could have used back with Slappy. The fortune is over and we're back outside the tent looking for our friends, but spot Big Al instead. He's with a crowd chanting, "Pay or play, pay or play." Big Al informs us that we must play 2 games and win, or we'll pay with our life. We're then offered 2 games, the Wheel of Chance, or Guess Your Weight on Mars. I want to show this Wheel of Chance, so we'll go there first. At this wheel, a parrot instructs us to use our finger to point at random and go to the page number listed, so we'll roll through these. Let's get the no chance out of the way, and this leads right to where you think it does, to our 20th ending. That's a little anticlimactic. It just says this is the end basically. We'll check out the free spin next, which gets wild. The parrot lands on our shoulder and transforms into an enormous vulture that carries us up into the sky, where we can see all the carnival. The vulture carries us into the forest where it gets ready to serve us up to its 5 baby vultures. Here we're given the choices. If we have a chocolate bar, pull it out. If not, go to the next page. I don't have one, so unfortunately for us, we get tossed to the vultures, but we don't get eaten. Instead, we fall out of the nest to our death in our 21st ending. Let's see what happens if I did have a chocolate bar though. It's not much better. We wave the chocolate bar in front of the vulture, which causes it to open its mouth and drop us right onto a random trampoline. Good news, right? Nope. This results in us just bouncing up and down forever in our 22nd ending. So, I guess we go back to the wheel and check out Double or Nothing. This path results in a 2-headed man announcing we earned 10 points, and we're given the option to spin again, or go to the Guess Your Weight on Mars game. I'm going to spin again to see where the next page takes us, and this last option earns us 25 points and a can of monster blood, which I guess I just didn't have on hand earlier out of sheer coincidence. Oops. This path then sends us to the Guess Your Weight game, so we're all done with the Wheel of Chance. At this weight guessing game, we're informed we will enter a planet simulation, and the lady running the booth will guess our weight on Mars. If she's right, we lose. She makes her guess, and then we're given a math equation to solve to see if she's correct, and ain't nobody got time for that. We're then given 2 choices. Do you think she's right, or is she wrong by a couple pounds? I'm just gonna assume she's right first, which results in getting tossed into a space chamber, and it's revealed, yep, she was right, so we lose, and get launched to Mars in our 23rd ending. Now, let's check out and see what happens if we think she's wrong about her weight. Turns out, we hop on the scale, and she is wrong, so we win a chocolate bar, and Big Al appears to force us into more games. But since we've played both games already, he tries to send us to the Magnetic Wheel Challenge storyline from earlier. We're almost done with all these endings, so let's jump back to the fortune teller and pick the blue card instead of the red one like last time. When we choose the blue card, a message appears on the back from the Freak Show freaks begging for help. The card bursts into flames and Madame Zeno vanishes, leaving us the choice to either help the freaks or not. If we don't choose to help them, we're sent into the game storyline that's already completed, so we have no choice but to help the freaks. We run into Brad and Patty, and they agree to help the freaks too. We traverse an alley full of rats, and then enter a door labeled Keep Out. Inside, we find all the freaks locked in cages and learn Big Al locks them up every night after they're done performing. Footsteps are approaching, so we're given the chance to run and hide, or keep chatting. If we run, we just end up in the petting zoo storyline, so we're going to stay and chat with Big Al. He says they're not in prison and it's all part of the show and wants us to leave with him. We listen to the snake lady and refuse to go with him. Too bad she's in cahoots with him, and soon all three of us are locked in a cage with Harold the Giant, so the other freaks are prisoners, not just the snake lady. We end up taunting the giant by telling him he's a wimp, with the goal being to enrage him into busting out of jail. We're then given two paths. If it's sunny outside, go to one page, and if it's dark out, go to another page. It's sunny out for me, so we'll check out that path first. On this path, the bullying backfires, and the giant starts to cry. Then he gets real angry, and we have our 24th ending, as the giant picks us up and tosses us through the cell wall. Splat. Now let's see what happens if it's dark outside. On this path, our bullying has inspired the giant to smash open the prison cell, and we're all able to break free and free all the freaks from their cells. This leads to all of us walking out of the carnival together, and now we have to explain to our parents why we have all these freaks in their house in our 25th ending. There's still one more ending left to look at though, and it involves Slappy and the fortune teller's magic numbers. This time, before Slappy's able to enslave us, we notice a locker out of the corner of our eye labeled 132, the magic numbers. All three of us crawl into the locker, and it flashes a bright light and begins to shake. We're then transported to right outside the carnival as Patty and Brad are jumping the fence because, surprise, that was a time machine, and we're right back to the start of the book in our 26th and final ending. Well, that's it. All 26 endings are fully explored. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, and I had a pretty good time with this story. I enjoyed the cameos and Easter eggs from the other Goosebumps books scattered in this one. I thought the story itself was fine. I think in some ways I'd like less endings and more in-depth storylines because some of the ideas in this book were really fun, but everything felt shallow or rushed, and it was hard to truly get invested in any plotline. It was impressive how Stine and his various ghostwriters were able to weave all this together, because I had a whole separate Google Doc open for tracking pathways and staying organized. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Escape from the Carnival of Horrors. Do you have a favorite Give Yourself Goosebumps book? Do you have any suggestions for future videos? Do you think this is the same Al as from Welcome to Camp Nightmare? Next week, we're back on Fear Street with The Sleepwalker, which is giving me some Nightmare on Elm Street vibes. Anyways, as always, thanks again for watching, and make sure you subscribe for
the pride, the love.